Welcome everybody. We are going to be discussing project templates today. Marsha's taking over. As you can kind of probably hear, I have a little bit of a raspy voice. Thankfully, we work remote, so nobody else should be getting sick. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A section. That way we make sure that we don't miss it. But also still feel free to chat with everybody in the regular chat as well. To get started, we're going to launch a poll for you real quick, just to ask to see who is currently using project templates. And so the project templates are where you can basically create a project as a shell of a project and then use it to start off your next project. So you already start with a step forward. Ooh, a lot of no's. So this will be a good webinar for everybody. Awesome. Okay, well, people are still replying, so I'll give it just another second. But Marsha is gonna take it away, and I will be in the chat and Q&A, kind of keeping an eye on things and answering questions and sending links if we need to. But she is gonna take care of the presentation.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to talk about project templates with you guys this week. I use them in my own business, and I love how I have consistency across all my projects and how easily and quickly I can get a project up and running. So today we're going to talk about how to create those project templates and then how to use them. We're going to have a lot of resources available to you as well that we'll share. If you're not familiar, we do have a template section on mydomastudio.com, and I'll share that with you as well, where you can get some of the templates to help you get started, certain aspects and tools for your projects. So what we're going to cover today is what are project templates and why they're important, how to use them in the studio to maximize your time and reduce overwhelm when you're starting a new project, learn how to manage yourself and your team more efficiently, and of course, we always do some hands-on expert demonstrations, and we're going to talk about some guidance and support for you afterwards as well. So the overall goals for using project templates is to stop the vicious cycle of reinventing the wheel every time you have a new project. We're going to want you to minimize your time on busy admin work so you can take on more projects and manage multiple client projects without feeling overwhelmed. So are you good or bad busy? So good busy means you have a repeatable process and project templates to support your business. So you have maybe contract templates, task templates, and then of course the project template. And so if you're, little hint here, if you're not good busy, that's probably why you're attending the workshop today. And we're going to help you change that, hopefully, and change your mindset when it comes to using project templates within the studio. And I'm so excited that a lot of you actually said no, that you're not currently using them, because that is really exciting for us to expose you and share this with you and hopefully get you on board to using them. So there's two types of busy. You know your process, but you're too busy to take the time to set up the template. So you manually end up repeating the process every time you start a new project. And I know what you're saying, but Marsha, not every project exactly the same. And we're going to discuss how you can set up different projects or different templates based on the type of project that you're working on. You don't have a process. So this is the second type of busy. You don't have a process. You don't know where to start, and you're reinventing the wheel each and every time. And the problem with that is things can get missed. Things can appear disorganized. You can easily get frazzled and overwhelmed. And then that can sometimes leak over into the client experience as well. And we don't want that. So how can a project template help you? Well, it will help you save time and energy. It will lower your overhead costs, and it will allow for bigger growth and adaptability. Because once you have your project template, if you, for example, as your business evolves, maybe you're going to change up some things, well, it's going to be quite easy for you to go back into that template and to make those changes, make those edits. And of course, we always need to revisit our process. And so with a project template, if there's something that's not serving you or in your client base or working for you and your team, then you can change that up. So first of all is knowing where to start. Okay, if you're not using a project template right now, where do you even start? So first thing that we ask that you do is review your services and processes. So sit down and look at what services you're offering that has been the most popular for you. So for example, some designers do a combination of full service and online design. So for that, I would probably recommend having a template for each type of service. Some designers like to do a designer by your side where they're offering a set number of hours to work with a client. And so depending on the services you're offering can reflect on the type of template that you're going to create or templates. You don't have just to use the one. And so once you review your processes and your services, what assets do you tend to give clients when you're working with them? So for example, in my online design process, I will start off with an idea phase, for example, and then a concept phase. And then depending on the package or the service that they've purchased, I may then obviously share floor plans, mood boards, 3D renderings. So that project template will be maybe a little different than say my full service, what have you. And then what resources do you need to support the project? So for me, with my online design packages, I make sure that I have a lot of documentation there to set the expectation and to also answer any probable questions that they may have. So for example, in my project templates, I'll make sure to include a client welcome packet, for example, in my files and media section. There will be like terms and conditions, letter of agreement, contracts, all that kind of thing. So let's jump in. So I'm not doing, all the talking. Well, I'm going to still be talking, but let's jump in and let's talk about or show you how to create the project template. So in the studio, you have two ways to create a project template. So if you have been a Mydoma user for some time and you have your project set up and you have your flow, you know how you work, you can actually take an existing project and turn it into a project template. Now, it will not copy over any financial parts to your project. So like invoices, proposals, and orders would not get saved as a project template, but there will be some things that you will have to remove if you take an existing project and save it as a template. So to do that, I'm in a project here. You literally would just click the three dots and save it as a project template. And we'll go through all those steps in a minute. Before we do that, I want to talk about the parts of the project because this will apply whether you're taking an existing project and saving it as a project template or if you're creating a new project and from scratch. So for those of you who are not using project templates, you don't have a project set up that you're really wanting to rinse and repeat on, then let's go through those steps. So I have a project here and I have my overview. And so we can use tags, for example, to specify where we're at in the process. So for a project template, I would just say maybe I wouldn't probably even use a tag for there, but project description, budget, you can, I would just leave the headings here and then you can just fill it out once you start your new project. So I would start with project description here, project scope, and that can all be done in the project info here. So I would, remove this, for example. So I would have these headings because this is how I like to organize or share what the scope of the project is. So key areas of focus. And then this is new, where we now have an eco-friendly design feature within the studio where you can track how eco-friendly a project is. And I know a lot of designers are on board with that and having that available to their clients. So I would include this part in my project info. And then project features, whatever project features you have turned on, that will copy over when you save it as a project template. So for example, maybe you don't use questionnaires and intake forms, so you don't want that showing up over here in your project, then you would just toggle that off, for example. So I'm going to keep all these features on because I actually do use them. And then your feature image, I just have my business logo. Sometimes I may change that as I get going in the project. Maybe I'll put one of my rendered images on there. So that's my overview. So again, I would have these headings that I have in bold there so easily I can fill that in, or my team member can fill that in. The next thing, of course, is contracts. And so you can add a text contract, and we do have a contract template available. We do recommend, of course, anytime it has anything to do with legal, we always recommend that you do have someone review your contract and make sure that you are covering yourself as well as the client in your jurisdiction. So you can add a text contract and you can copy and paste that into here. And then you can say create template, and that's how you can create your contract template. If you already have a template, then you can select it. So we have like letter of agreement, for example, e-design, full service. So depending on the service that you're offering, and then you can hit apply on that. And none of this would show up until you actually make it ready for the client. So we're just setting this up now to be your template for ongoing or future projects. So let's just say this is probably for a full service project. So that's your contract. Like I say, proposals, invoices, and orders do not copy over. So the next thing that I like to have set up, let's just go back to contracts here. So you might have, so here's just, we just added a bunch. Some designers, for example, will have different things for clients to sign, depending on where they're at in the process of the design. So starting out, for example, I always have the client obviously sign the contract, letter of agreement. I actually have them sign my terms and conditions, my policies, as well. So then I know they have read it, they've signed it, and then I just like to start off, you know, in a good place with my clients. Appointments. So you can add your appointments here. We can link, you can embed from Calendly, Acuity, scheduling software, for example. So I will add that. And usually what I will do, and it will load, it's just taking a moment because we're on Zoom and my internet connection, but I will usually add the initial consultation or design consultation appointment here at this juncture. You can also add, of course, appointments for other things in the design process. Like I will have an appointment meeting for design presentation, concept phase, that kind of thing. And then intake forms, I do use them in my process. So for example, I have an initial consult form. If it's a kitchen and or bathroom project that I'm working on, I do have a survey for them. And then at the end, I do actually have a feedback survey, feedback and testimonial survey. And so I also have that. Would I have them all visible here at this juncture? Probably not. But again, you can save them and create them as templates so they're in the studio ready to go when you're ready to share them with the client. Because obviously you don't want the client filling out a feedback survey when they're just getting started with you. And then files and media is another section that I will fill in for my project template. So for here, for example, I will embed my client welcome packet. And we do have a template for that on the website that you can download, put into Canva, and you can change up the images and the verbiage to be aligned with your business brand and your and cover, you know, things that you want to cover in your client welcome packet. So for there, I like to outline what the expectations are, what they can expect from me, but also what I expect from them. In my files and media, for example, if this was an online design client, I would also, or a full service, I would have a folder for inspiration images. I would also, if for an online design client, have a folder where I show them how I need them to measure the room or how I need them to take photos of their space. So I have like a little cheat sheet how to on that. And then this would be folders I would share with them after or as we're going through the process for, you know, maintenance and warranty info. So you can have all these folders here. You can have, you know, the information in them. You don't have to share them right away because again, this is just a project template. But, you know, once this is an active project, you can share it with the client and you can even request approval on folders, which I love. Because I like to request approval on my welcome packet. I like to request approval on floor plans, anything that we need sign off on when it comes to floor plans and that kind of thing. I like to do that here. So we have the contracts overview. like I said, proposals, invoices, and orders are not part of your project template. I have my appointments because I do use that, questionnaires or intakes, however you want to call it, files and media. And the next thing is tasks. Now we do have task templates as well, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So here I have tasks here. So initial discovery call meeting, for example, what we need from you. So this I include as part of my onboarding with clients. So we can click into that, for example, and it will have a checklist of what I need my clients to do in order to kickstart this project off. It's already here. I can save it as a save this task as a template, so it's always there in the studio, for example. If I want to share this with the client, I can copy it, for example, as well. And again, if I scroll up, there's no one assigned to this. So if you're taking an existing project that has tasks on it, you would want to make sure that you don't have any users assigned to it. This is just me, the studio admin, watching it. Well, that's not me, but it's a studio admin. So then there's task manager. And then another thing that I create and set up for myself to make life easy is the design boards. So you can rename the board. You don't have to keep it, but I just have this one named design concept. If you go into settings, I will show you where you can save that as a template, but I will add my logo. So it's there. I usually get rid of the grid lines. I just prefer it without it. And then I can create a template here. So then when I go to create a new design board, I can just choose from my template. Again, not having to start from scratch. I'm not having to locate this logo every time I go to create a new board. And then the last thing that I do use as well, not as much anymore now that we have tasks for checklist and what have you, but I do like to still use notes. I don't necessarily always share them with the client. Sometimes, of course, it's meeting notes for my eyes only, but you can still create notes. So for example, if you have, a checklist for different spaces and what have you, then you can add that here. And of course, once you set it up and this becomes a project, you obviously can make it visible to the client or editable by the client. So that's the features I like to use in my project. Now, if this was an existing project like it is, and I want to save it as a project template, one thing I will want to do is after I save it as a project template, I will want to remove the products and services because that does copy over. But before we get there, one thing I do like to do is I do like to have my views created. Now, this can be however you want to organize your project. I like to organize my project by spaces. Totally up to you how you do it. This is how I do it. So whatever spaces I'm working on. And again, I just take, the general spaces, that you would typically work on. I don't always have to make them visible. And if I'm not working, obviously, in all these spaces, once I turn this into a project, I can easily remove these views. But I have them set up so that they're there. And you can also have your schedules set up, for example, if you want to, to track your cost, you can create a view for that. My plumbing schedule for my contractor, my finish schedule. So the view itself is there. Obviously, there would not be any products in that yet. So when I save this as a project template, and let's do that, I'm just going to show you. So I've created all these things. And I'm going to go to my overview. And I'm going to save this as a project template. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to put DS in the front of it so we can, and let's just say it's a full service template. And I'm terrible at typing and someone's watching me. And I can give this template a description. So full service, maybe full home projects. And I like to give it a date. So I know when I created this. I have no idea what today's date is. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go save. And we got an error. Cannot read the property. What does that mean? Okay, let's see here. Let's hope that's saved. So let's go over to projects. Okay. And up here at the top, we are going to add a project. Okay, so I took an existing project and I made it into a template because I love how I have that one set up. So I'm going to give my project a name. Oh, what are we going to call it here? Pulling a blank. You can give it a start date. You can give it a status. I'm going to keep it unpublished from now. And here is where I can choose my template. So let's, oh, it's here. Yay. So I'm going to choose the template I just created. And these features are already on because it says here the project features are set by the selected template, and I had kept all those features on, remember? So I am just going to go next. Not going to add any clients or users right now. I'm going to go to create. And we're going to go back. Let's see if that created it. I'm not sure why we're getting that error.
It's a false error, it looks like.
Okay, good.
Already escalating it to the team. You just need to refresh. But
Okay.
yeah, we're already working on it.
Yep. And here it is. So as you can see, there's no clients signed to it. I didn't delete this out, for example, because I didn't want to mess up that project because it's one that the team uses. But I'm going to show you when I go to products and services, all those products and services came over with it. So obviously I don't want those. So I'm going to delete them all. Right? And I want to delete them all, not just one. Where's my little...
Switch it to table view.
Right. Thank you. So then to delete them all, I'm going to check this checkbox here and there's a delay and I'm going to go delete. And that's going to delete all those items for me. So you just want to make sure that you do that. And then when I go into my views, so my lounge view will be empty because there would have been items into there. So now I'm starting with a clean slate. My tasks are already here. So everything is set up. And so it's just setting up the template can take time. But like I say, if you already have a project that you like how it's set up, it has everything you need, you can definitely save it as a project template like I just did. And then just remember that if you did have any products and services in there, switch to table view and then delete them. And like I said, nothing from that project, that Riverdale residential, came over with regards to, proposals, invoices, and orders. But the things that I do want to reuse every time did indeed come over. And, if this is not a kitchen project, for example, I can easily delete that. So it's just much more quicker for me to get a project up and going. And then if I am ready, for example, as you can see, there is an I with a slash through it that tells me that I have not added a user and I have not published it. I can go in and publish it. I can set my budget. I can add my users. My team members were already part of that project that I turned into a project template. So they're they're also project managers, so they would automatically have access to any project. And then if there is a project feature that I don't want to be using in this particular project, I do have the ability to go in and turn that off as well. But again, I use all these, so I'm going to keep them. So if you don't have an existing project, then you're going to go add new project and you're going to add all these things in. And with your task manager, your contracts, your design boards, once I set them up, I would save those as tasks or as templates as well. So they're there for you to repeat. And so then going forward, it, takes you no time to set up a project, fill in the information that you want to fill, add the user, publish it, share it, that kind of thing. And I'm just going to go back to here and just so best practices. Here's our article here. If you want to scan that QR code on how to create a project template, it goes through the 2 ways to do it, to take an existing project or to start from scratch. So I would suggest when you sit down to do this, to help save time and so you don't get overwhelmed, have your processes, your assets and your resources ready to go before you sit down to create your template. So have your questionnaire, have your contract, have your appointments, anything that you want to do inside the studio, have that there. Have templates for different project types. So if you're not just doing full service, maybe you're like me, you do full service and online, I have a project template for both. And then have a master template for each type that can be easily edited for various project scopes. So yes, your full service template, your full service project, that might be, a kitchen, or it could be an entire house. So once you have your master template in place, you can easily add or remove things from that. So when my template, I had all those views. Well, I'm not going to necessarily want to use all those in every project. I can easily go in and remove them. And again, the client will only see what views I share with them anyway. So what to include in your project template. So I like to include my process checklists. So I will do that in my task manager, and you can, again, scan this QR code here to learn about task templates, my asset checklist, any internal resources, and then my users. So if you don't have a design process right now, you're just starting out, then I highly recommend that you check out the Mydoma method, is what we call it, and is how we suggest you adopt your workflow and your process to coincide with Mydoma. Of course, you can tweak it. We all work differently, but that is something I do suggest you take a look at. And then I love to use files and media, especially now since they have the request approval on it. So if I have a designer by your side client, for example, that is where I will share a brochure on that and how that works compared to, say, an online design service or my full service, because that is different. And then even for my full service clients, I do have a full service client guide as that's separate from my welcome packet that I will also share with them. So I will do that in my files and media as well. So what's your return on investment on sitting down and taking the time to create, this project template? Well, once you have your assets ready, building your project template from scratch, not an existing project like I did, it should take you about 2 to 3 hours. But then it's done. So that means you can expect to save over 2 hours per project to set yourself up for consistency. So give yourself an hour once you create a project from a template to go through, fine tune it, add what you want, that kind of thing. So the biggest time investment here is those assets that you need. And like I say, the tasks, the contracts, questionnaires or intake forms, create those so that you can, in design boards, create those and save them as a template. So they're there as well. You're not recreating those at every juncture or every time you sign a new client and start a new project. So here is another QR code about how to create the design board templates in the studio. And again, I just usually remove the grid lines, put my logo on there. You can have titles, for example, like they have here, that kind of thing. I mean, you can be as creative as you want. So we always say, and I love to say this, I always say, work harder or work smarter, not harder. And anywhere I can rinse and repeat in my design process means I am not being caught up in the busyness of that admin work. And it gives me more time and frees up my brain to actually focus on the design aspect of a project rather than getting caught up in the minutia of, the the busyness, the things that don't make us money, right? I don't want to sit down and spend 3 hours per client creating a project and setting up a project. I want to be able to sit down and within, half an hour, 45 minutes, have that project set up. I'm ready to go. So we didn't ask the poll today, but maybe some of you are not using Mydoma yet and you're on the fence. Well, don't hesitate. You can sign up for a free demo and check it out. And if you are new, sit down and do yourself a service and create that project template. Think about how you work, what assets you like to share, what you like to use, what resources, and set those up. And I think that will really set you up for success, in your business, but also in using the studio. So that is opening things up for questions. And I love questions. So I see that we have a few there, Paxton.
Yes, we do. First
Okay.
things first.
Yes.
Can you tell them where they can find the templates that you were talking about that we have?
Yes. So if you go to mydomastudio.com/resources, you will see templates. And in here, we have an interior designer questionnaire. You will have to edit those and make them your own. So I use, for example, Google Forms for my questionnaire, so I can embed it into my program. The responses will not show up in the studio. The responses will show up in whatever app you're using for your questionnaire. With me, because I use Google Forms, I have it set up so if someone completes the questionnaire in the studio, because it's a Google form, I will get an email. So I go into Google Forms, I get my responses, and I actually download them. And I don't know if you noticed when I was going through, but in my files and media, I will create a folder where I will put my responses. I don't share that with a client, but it's there for me. So I can just go to the studio and see it. Contract template is here. And again, I can't stress enough, make sure whatever contract, letter of agreement, whatever legal documents you're using in your business, take the time to have a legal representative review them and make sure you're covered in your jurisdiction. Measure your space template. I use this in my online design clients. Obviously, I don't expect my full service clients to measure their own spaces. I do that, or my contractor. But for my online design clients, I need them to measure their space and I need to make sure that they're doing it accurately and correctly. So I use a template for that. I even have a template on how to show them how to take their photos. And then the task management template is here, and then your client welcome. So the client welcome package template I share and use. That is a Canva document. So once you sign up for it, it shows up in your email right away. You open it into Canva and you can edit, align it with your brand, your verbiage, your copy, all that kind of thing.
And then one more thing, if you don't remember to go to our website first, if you go back to your studio for me.
Yes, I know where you're going.
You can select the question mark at the top right, which in the recording our faces is probably covering, but question mark top right.
Top
Then
right.
go to education. And then it links to that same page, the resources at the top right there. But then you can also go to our help guides if you have any questions, because we do have it linked in some of our help guides too.
As well. Yeah. So you can go to the help guide, for example, and you can search, for example, questionnaire template. And if you didn't know, this is where you connect with us, Paxton and I, connect with support. That will open that up. So that's where you do that.
Yes. Okay, so next question. Will we be sharing the presentation so they can review and get the QR codes? So this is being recorded.
Yes.
Pardon me, sorry. So you will still get that. If you want me to send you the actual presentation, I can. I can download it as a PDF and send it to you. Just message in the chat and I can send that to you. But otherwise, you will get the recording. The QR code will be under our faces because we have planned for that. And you will be good to go. But all of those resources are in the help guides too, or if you have any questions, just shoot us a message. We're more than happy to help. Somebody asked, what's the difference between a letter of agreement and contract?
Okay.
Do that one, or do you want me to?
You take that one. I mean, I know, but I might confuse them even more if I try to explain it.
Um, pardon me. So, some of it's just the terms that are in the contract specifically, and it can change based off of location on what is included. To me, I typically find them very similar. Letter of agreement can also be more so like your scope of work versus contract is more of the nitty-gritty legal stuff that goes into a lot more details on like if something were to happen, what happens kind of idea. Marcia, do you
So
agree?
I use a letter of agreement for my online design packages. So it outlines what they can expect by purchasing an online design package and doing an online design with me. My contract will cover things such as intellectual property. I'm not a contractor. So if you're hiring a contractor, you know, that is separate from me as a designer. If there is a disagreement, how it will be handled, where it will be handled, for example, and then the use of photos, and if they're going to be sharing their project on social media. So for me, a contract is definitely more encompassing, and I'm trying my best to make sure I'm covering all possible variables of when things are possibly could go wrong. Whereas a letter of agreement, like Paxton said, I tend to use more just to discuss the scope, what you can expect, what you're getting. For example, on my online design package, there's no refund. You pay up front. And so that's what I tend to cover in my letter of agreement.
Yeah, Jamie says letter of agreement is for project, contract is for behavior. I like that.
Definitely love that.
Since we are on the topic of contracts, I did have a question on if signed contracts pull over in the project template. They technically do, but they aren't pulled over as signed. They pull over as pending. So if you are using a existing project that had a signed contract, it will not copy who signed it. It'll move it over to pending. You will still want to edit the information in that contract because obviously if you have your client's name and address, it's going to change.
Right.
So I just recommend adjusting it for that. Jamie asked, in appointments, what's the difference between linking and embedding an appointment?
Okay. So I use Calendly. So when I go to add an appointment, I use the well, no, I use the link, right? With Calendly, we use it. I do this so often that I don't
It's
even
really
think about
kind of
it.
the same
Yeah. Yeah.
because most appointment places use a link. So Calendly, Acuity, Google Workspace, it gives you a link that you can just put in and it technically embeds it.
Right.
So it's actually kind of one and the same. You don't actually have to grab an embed code for this. It just actually embeds it with that proper link. And something else, if you don't want to have the clients book a time with you and you just wanted to say, hey, we agreed on this time, you can select add appointment, select a date, and not even add a link. But that's going to show it as a booked appointment. It's not going to show it as a pending one. Okay. Just to re-go over, everybody that registered, so everybody that's here, will get the recording automatically, but I have taken a screenshot of those that asked for us to send you the presentation. So I will do that afterwards. I don't see any more questions right now, so while I give people an opportunity to ask more questions, I am going to launch another poll
Yes.
for us, just because we really want to get your feedback and we want to know what else you want to hear, what else you want to learn about, what can we do better kind of things. So let me go ahead and launch that. And I'll give everybody a little bit of time to fill it out. And again, if you do still have questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A, or at this point, since we're at the end, you can put it in the chat as well. either or is more than okay.
So if you guys, we've been doing these webinars, Paxton and I, every 2 weeks for past 2 months. So some of the topics we've covered so far are packages and how to use those in the studio, for example, like a discovery call or initial consultation package. We've talked about how to onboard clients in the studio. We've talked about getting paid and how to use the studio for invoicing, proposals, and orders. And then I think this is project templates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then every other week we're offering getting started in Mydoma. So for that, it's geared towards new users, but if you have been using it for a while, but you still feel you could, benefit from that, it's free. Definitely sign up for that as well.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting a refresher.
Mm,
I'm more than happy to have people
definitely.
join us. And
Yeah.
a lot of these webinars we will be cycling through. And so if
Yes.
something else comes up, whether it be a new feature or something else that we think that people are asking a lot for, of course, we're going to have a webinar for that as well.
Yes.
So again, the feedback is very much appreciated. And if you don't have a moment to fill it out here, you can send it us in a question mark in your studio and then select connect with support. And that's another perfectly good place, or also our Facebook group.
Yeah.
You can do that there too. Awesome. So I don't see any more questions about project templates. Something I did want to go over just as a refresher is if you do want to edit a project template, you want to go ahead and apply it to a new project, make any changes, and then save it as a new project template. Just because it has so much in that template, there's not a way to edit it in the studio settings. Once I end this poll, I'll show you where to find the templates in your studio settings as well. But I see people are still typing, so I'm gonna give them.
Yep, for sure.
I
So for
think,
example, when I started this project, remember I showed you guys how to delete the products and services. So what I could essentially do is now save that one. So I wouldn't have to remember to do that step every time.
yes.
And we'll
And
show you where to edit
yeah,
and also where to delete.
yes. And that's
Yes.
also why we recommend putting a date in the description of whenever you're saving the template, just because then you can know when it was last updated, especially for contract templates. But for all templates, I like to put the date
I do
because
too.
sometimes you like to rebrand and you have a design board posted for the template and you still have your old logo on it. That's an example of a reason why you would want to delete and update.
Yeah. So you can let me know, Paxton, when you want me to go into studio settings.
Problem is I don't know if the poll shows on the recording or not.
Oh,
So
right. I know. I don't know
this will
either.
be a learning experience for everybody.
No worries.
And okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. I'm gonna give anybody 2 seconds to copy what they're typing just in case, or to go ahead and send it. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll so we can recover how to edit and delete.
Yep.
And then if you want to add any more feedback, just send it to us in the studio chat. So in your studio, the question mark.
Right up here. Oh,
So sorry, I keep trying to mute myself anytime. Can we
it's okay.
message you to get the previous programs that you've already covered? So that we've actually linked all the recordings in the help guides. And so you actually don't even have to message us, but you can absolutely message us still. So if you go into the help guides and go to see all, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So if you go into help guide and see all, it's underneath training and resources, which is the second option. You don't even have to
Oh, yeah.
search, just
I saw it. I saw it. I always search. I am not a scroller. So
but
here
the
they are here.
training and free webinars are right here.
Yep.
You don't even have to look for it. It's just all listed right there. And it also lists what's upcoming.
Yes.
So if you lose track of your project template email with the recording, it will be here once
Yes.
we're done with that. Can you archive the old templates once you create a new one? You cannot, it's only that you can delete it. So Marsha, do you mind going back to your
Your thing.
studio? So
Yep.
to go to that, you're going to select your logo mark at the top left and go to Studio Settings. From here, kind of towards the middle is Templates. And then this is where you can see a list of all of your templates. If you wanted to kind of have it more of like an archived thing, you can rename the template just so you know to not use it, but that way you still have it on hand just in case. So to do that, you'll select the three dots on whatever template. So yeah, go to project, sorry. Select the three dots and then edit, which is the top one. And then you can rename it there just to say to not use it or archived, however you want to phrase that.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to delete it, you would select those same three dots and then select delete. Is there a
So
way?
all your templates for the studio are here as well. So this is where your questionnaire templates are, design board tasks that I talked about, and contracts. So here you can't, when we say edit, you can edit the name, but you can't actually edit the template because there's so much in them. So you'd actually have to open it up in a project and
Yes.
resave it.
And you can archive the project template that you originally used if you want to leave it like that, and then just update that anytime you want to make changes instead of applying it to a new project and doing that. But you can also, if you have a project template and you save it as a project template, it's going to save that project as what it is in that moment. So if you don't want to have just a project template project, you can continue to edit it afterwards and build on top of it, and it's not going to affect your template. For Caitlin, it says, are there ways to set in automatic workflows? Could you be a little more specific? Because that could mean quite a few things, and I just want to make sure that we get your question answered. You can put it in the chat or in Q&A, doesn't matter, either or. Let's see if Caitlin's still here. Yes, okay. Sorry. I'm not trying to rush you, I promise. Does anybody else have any questions? Yep, take your time, Caitlin. You're all good. We'll hold on for you.
I would love to know how many of you guys are going to try project templates after today. Did we convert? Did we manage to persuade any of you guys to give it a whirl?
we got some people raising their hands.
Yay! Yay! Awesome.
It's very exciting.
It
Thanks,
is.
everybody. So workflows as in sending out weekly project updates, email, automations, etc. So for the weekly project updates, I would recommend probably doing that as a task.
Definitely.
The only thing that we have AI currently are for new plans. So if you were on the old version of Mydoma and moved over, unfortunately you don't have this, but on new plans in Mydoma, you are able to use Max to create a project, and it's kind of more of a conversation. So if you go back to projects, it is at the top right where you can see add projects and then create projects with Max. But right now we don't have any email automations, but we are working towards having more things like that for you. So this is the first thing that is AI, is create with Max. If you select this, you can again have more of a conversation. If you want Max to type faster, sorry, you can just click and it will put out the whole thing instead of having to wait for it to type out, just so you can save some time. but that way you can kind of go through and it will create some files and medias folders. It can create some views. If it does create views, you still want to make sure that you edit any visibility options before you share it with your clients. Just keep that in mind. And a few other things. So it just depends on what information you give it, but it can create those things for you. Hopefully that helps. If you have more questions on that, message us in your studio chat. We're more than happy to talk to you on that.
I do send out weekly end of week emails. I take time Friday morning to do that, for example. And so for myself, and when I was using a virtual assistant, I would just have that as a task for them. And I would, include what projects that I needed that communication sent out on.
So Max is currently only available on if you are on a plan that is the starter, professional, or professional team. So all of our newer plans. If you came from the older version, unfortunately, it is not available for you. If you are interested in it, you can upgrade onto one of the newer plans, but depending on what plan you are on, it may not be worth it for you, or it may be. So if you were on an older version, message us first just so we can talk to you about our plans. That way, in case you have any questions, we can go over the pros and cons of each plan for you. Just because I don't, like, for example, if somebody is on a plan from when we very, very first started as a company, you got one heck of a deal. I don't know that it would be worth it. But yeah, again, even with the Max, if you just create that project template, that's going to help out a lot. With Max, because it's AI, you do still need to be very specific. And it can't do everything, but it is still very, very new. So we plan to continue building it out more and adding more features along with AI.
Aren't we offering a paid workshop in the new year with Jenna with regards to how to use AI in your interior design business?
I know Jenna is offering one. I don't know if it's directly with us or from her own business.
Okay, my apologies.
She is for sure doing that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and Marsha. And we are so glad that you joined us to talk about project templates. If you have any questions that maybe you just didn't get to in here, please reach out in your studio with the question mark and then connect with support. You'll reach either of us on the other end. And we are more than happy to send you any resources, help guide you on maybe what you might want to add into your project template, etc. Like if you just aren't sure where to start, just let us know. That's literally what we get paid to do, and so you keep us employed. I
Yes.
mean that as a joke, please. But that is our job. We are here to help.
It is. Yeah, it is our job. And I love talking process and procedure. So if you are working through your project template and you get stuck or you can't remember something, like please do jump in the support chat. I'd be more than happy to help you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Caitlin, I'll send you the information once I find out for sure. I'll try and look for it. Thank you, Gloria. I just started getting sick last night, so hopefully it gets better quick. All right, thanks. Have a
Thanks,
good one,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye now.